Hello, good morning, dear student and respected all elders, civil service preparing for students. Good morning. Today, I am saying say something. Your responsibility to save this country and your family and state and district. Your responsibility because COVID-19 it is a increase this India and every citizen responsibility the save the one person to other person. That's all. I'm talking about the civil service examination, preparing for the students, and then the Hindu newspaper is very important in the civil service examination and current affair, editorial, essay, paper two, political, internationals, etc. cover in this the Hindu newspaper and science and technology cover the Hindu newspaper. But here my students, how could you read and how could you core in this topic and what do you understand in this newspaper? Which news is important this civil service examination and which news is not related to the civil service examination? How can you identify? But you know that national news and international news it is a very important this civil service examination and Supreme Court related to this news पेपर टू में जीएस पेपर टू मेन से इट इज ए वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड इकोनॉमिक्स साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी इट इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट द न्यूज द हिंदू न्यूज पेपर सो लेट मी स्टार्ट सपोज कोविशील्ड एंड कोवैक्सीन आर लेस इफेक्टेड अगेंस्ट B1.67 strain this productive by the only 50% of antibodies, but are still pointed to tools against the virus expert. This topic is related to this COVID-19 and virus vaccination, Covishield and Covaxin. But dear students, what is the difference between Covishield vaccine and Covaxin and create the ability, क्षमता, तर्क शक्ति. So why are you need for Covishield and why are you not need for the Covaxin? Some people say, why are you said that I accepted the Covaxin and I am not accepted the Covishield vaccine? Why? You are an IAS officer and you can apply the answer. Next point. This news is important in the civil service examination. And Goa hospital reported the 75 deaths in the 14 days. And Governor Koisiari by review by situation with Chief Minister in video call. This news is not related to the civil service examination. But next, ensure that bodies are not be dumped in the review Uttar Pradesh CM. Police question Youth Congress chief over COVID-19 assistance. No, this news is not related to the civil service. But their cases the 1 month low by 5, not cover Kejriwal. No, this news is not related to civil service. And 3 persons should death in the UP. Not. Even slide by throttles pause the trade in the northeast. Yes, this news is important because science and technology it is very related to news the important you can cover. And then Haryana's chief minister commandment by only virus is spread by Vaseless. No, this news is not related to the civil service examinations. Next news I am going to police collected by the over 1 crore from the COVID-19 evaluates cabinet approved by the 5,000 assistant of the PSB driver. And protection by the firm arrested in the Kerala till May 18 High Court. Consistent by the complaint to the Birth Authority in the Daniel relative to the COVID-19 of the patient admitted by in government hospital have complained of lack of the timely treatment by the unhygiening the surrounding in this around of this COVID-19 pandemic. Due to the many relative to the COVID-19 patient by the are administered to the Delhi government on Lok Kalyan Hospital and the GTB Hospital have complained pertain to not getting by the accurate care. Lack of the faculty is government on the hospital and bodies try to the 1 to the not hours 4 hours. They related to this news is not. And do you understand this COVID-19 vaccine oxygen related to this chapter? Australian fire within the turn of this IGC airport. This news is not related to civil service examination and Kumbh Mela cities to region behind the COVID-19 showed the Sheda Jan. This news is not related to civil service. 25 ICU bed attendant to the Lok Naik to become the function of the today the chief minister. The chief minister, Delhi chief minister Arvind Kejriwal said that 250 more than the available by the soon the bed available ICU attendants. Give free job until demanded to Delhi Congress. This news is not related to the civil service examination. And then Punjab, North and East news. You are going to the topic this North to East news and news the what is the important and not something news is not important less than Punjab CM to tell the village and keep away outside to rural area sitting by the shore in this case by needed to the very careful in the COVID-19 the Amrinder Singh chief minister said that Punjab of the showing by the SP COVID-19 case. Chief Minister and this Captain Amrinder Singh on this Friday urgent village to rural reacted by movement to the area of free of the virus. And then mass of testing to drive launched in this Agartala. Assam started by vaccination transgender and then something news is related to this COVID-19 news and next news the south related to the two AP pattern to the die to Telangana war entry Telangana turns by this away more than 60 ambulances for approval by the mandated by the say official. This news is related to the COVID-19. Monsoon likely to arrive over the Kerala on this 30 May 1 IMD. This news imagine important the civil service examination and mains paper theory, disaster management, and this news is take over in this paper 3 mains. And as Maharashtra again by register of this West News. West News Maharashtra against the register of the 5,000 recovery and the 695 deaths. And then dear students, 39,923 new cases of the active in the depth of the below the 5.20 lakh as peak of the 6,000 cases in the Pune related to the Maharashtra and Center by showed basic review of the 50% cap on the quota of the MBA government. Hani Babu tested by positive to COVID-19 related to this. This news is not important. This civil service examination and 1998 by Mumbai Railway bomb blast to a case the convict by Aftab Sikhi granted to parole. You know that, dear my students, 1998 was the Mumbai rail bomb blast case related to the person's name Aftab Sheikh granted. And next news is very important to the civil service examination and the help for this mains and essay. So in this topic, the name first you want to say that COVID storm the key principle driven home. The addressing to be them or they have to mitigate to be traumatic follower out of the pandemic in the country. So then, so dear students, you know that right now in India, crisis of the oxygen and other country that help this Indian oxygen. So dead man Helto tells by history of the bear in winter that the pandemic live by the print of the among those have not been hindered. In India, fulfill recognizing by the or take by place when a pandemic to fulfill behind. To not be given the form keep of the inside the storm, they are some of the principles have dared to drive in home. Addressing by this, them would not be undrawability by this migrant to the gravity of the fallout of this virus. Dear student, this paragraph said that we know that a pandemic it is a very increase the India and a need for the oxygen and shortage by their increase. Some people said that and government responsibility in this before the management and addressing to them would not be and disgraced by flood in this virus and rockens this pandemic live by this printed by among and then in the novel coronavirus. Next dear topics students health care not coverage. And a student there is a paragraph. What do you say the paragraph? And then after I can explain the code. Then first the debate by the between the universal by health care by universal health coverage. That extent of this shattered by now it is the speed by the landmark of the and wherein they laid out the nation of the Health Service Act in the 1946. First, dear my student, the Act Indian Web on Erwin by Brave led by National Health Service Act in 1940. 16, which is revoluted by the health care in this United Kingdom by the delinking of the from person income. It is become by brand benchmark for this recognition that they could not be the left of market forces to detail in the help the health public health due to related to this. Dear my student, this paragraph said that first Arnerian Brain led National Health Service Act in this 1946. In this related to the pandemic by debate, the coverage the and COVID-19 health care and the United Kingdom. So the linking of the person. So income because the branch maker for the categorized recognition and the matter the health and public health system good development in this India 1946. Next paragraph, dear students, the most comprehensive by document by the prepared for the far into India by the by to level of the expert by group of the appointment by the planning of the commission by submitted to the November 2011. Council by the India to the progressive by strengthening by public faculty is our one way of the risk medical service to be population as a whole. Will is the notice by the corner to the death with the enter by the health of the care the insured of 2014. Ensure that interested by the win the a good health of the same by however crisis to the ensured as with Ayushman Bharat. But for all this hypo, there is no getting way away from streaming by the public health faculties and making that their fundamental way of the ensuring the healthy life of the people India. At the reality spending of the full limitation by this amountment by on health for all this hope hopeful by this and give enter to the recognizing by the allocation the February 2021 budget the results are there in the C. Dear students, next paragraph said that you know that comprehension by the document prepared to the high pointed related to the planning of the commission by the commission to November 2011 and the progressive by the faculty of the public health system and population by the whole. So with notice kernel detailed by this centralized health care by not insured after the 2014 and related to the Ayushman Bharat. Ayushman Bharat, but it is a very helpful the scheme in the India. But total people are not available in this Ayushman Bharat. Ayushman Bharat. So related to this streaming by the public health faculty and the making of the fundamental say by ensuring the health life for the people and then by this not be allowed in this health of the amount this hyper intent to reduce this allocation of the February budget 2021 and the result by the right now in front of you. Dear student, Kerala when it started investing by the harvest by public health care, it is the 1950. 1950 was the toll by the was too expensive by for poor state like of here then. As we went by dominated by the primary health of the care and bureau by and democratic of the primary health and care of this brewer internship by generating to on by vitro cycle of the trained person. It is not well located of the populace. It is enhanced by the popular ability by the product to economic by assisted by the crisis of the state, much by more than could not be imitated by granted. Dear student, Kerala when by started the investing by heavily by public health infrastructure, and then after them talk about the 1950. 1950 was the total of the expensive by estate poor and like was them. Show primary estate document estate primary health sector and the infrastructure development and the incentive granting virtual will crisis in this poor population and means the people so productive by the economic asset in the crisis the estate in by more than do created the successful and control this Kerala and then region and not be bumbo jumbo. Next topic, dear student, not a mumbo jumbo. What do you say in the paragraph? The second principle of the collect by the new India of the faith by our science and the silencing by the relation of the Western and the outline of the Indian ethos must be the cleared by the very harder to India had not yet started breathing the region by this past of the 7 years and even this when this novel coronavirus pandemic was looming. Top of the minister, including the health minister, and where the flanking of the flight of the yoga and grew pros clean by the heart of the fund this COVID-19, the health of the organization and the step to mail in the clear to lead by the Andros. The Prime Minister of the himself by prevailing by Methogom our region by must be virtual by hopist in the total by Andrew Grison by the Mumbai. In his 2014 where the spoke of the plastic surrogate and the Indian innovation of the India back to Shantry in this the message downward by the clear signs, rotational by the expensive by was new Nehru when and not be caused. This paragraph said that second principle of the call the new India faith of the different responsibility of the kitchen by link is by this situation breathing again. So, dear student, novel coronavirus dramatic by plumbing the different minister include the health minister was the flaking by the for yoga guru pro cleaning by this fund by this COVID-19 and World Health Organization WHO said that mark of the then clarity. The Prime Minister himself by prevailing by this region most variable hospital in irrigation by Mumbai 2014. And then their student by told Lord Ganesh and trunk by this the India back to the century. And a message down be was clear science rotationalized by experience to was Nehru win and not basic cost related to this Maharashtra. And their next in the public allocation for science to have fallen by the Indian scientists by crisis to expect of the then Science Congress for making by the Heisman Bay and crisis by the claim including the that ancient Hindu victim by winter to the extremes called science. Scientists by the held by protect against the unscientifically to exterminate by the Bangalore, Kochi, Kolkata, and Tiruvananthapuram on January 2019. And within the Minister of the Ayurveda, Yoga, and Naturopathy by Union by Siddha and Homeopathy, coming under the frequently by the feeding non-crisis of within the weight of the government of India behind it. It is appear to notice if science that self was previewed by this threat in this ruling party's ecosystem. Al- Although last of year the no public health expected on the India and was empowered enough to be seen advised by the directive. Taking about question or giving by the out driving to that public could not by trust and is not caused by question policy. That is by Thali bring by candle lighting abroad in the lockdown was were all done via public addressing to be nation by this prime minister. There was no group of this suspended by scientists or the public health expert who could not challenge government dedicated or the test decision taken by Narendra Modi government against the scientist principle. The Prime Minister took by declaring by victory over the pandemic on January 28. The Home Minister auto, authority announcement by the India media that lies were not causing by secured in this middle of covered Bengal campaigns on the Kumbh Mela should not be allowed by the earlier in this way. Akhil Bharatiya Academy Parishad that had not that last word. No epidemiology. It took hundred by engaged by scientists to be right to lecture, and then a government by this related to the civilized democratics on this, whereas for the protocol to be treated in the wholesale by jacking and the science event drape into this pandemic variegated to the situation. This paragraph said that core important in this right now 5 state election in the south Punjab, no, Pashchim Bengal, Assam, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Pondicherry, and then COVID pandemic. It is a very virus second way in the increase, but public 2020 related to the Prime Minister said that each citizen thali winging, candle lighting, abroad lockdown. Narendra Modi requests the Indian citizens and 2020 addressing to the nation of the by Prime Minister grouped by the repeated by scientists of the public health expert and challenge movement that take decision making taken by Narendra Modi government agenda scientist principles. But right now, five state election right now, recently the end. But Narendra Modi and central government are not accepted the lockdown. A government does not thinking the second wave of the novel coronavirus and increase the some state, but government are not effect, but government think that I need the post and control then after state. So some people died in the related to COVID-19. Indian Prime Minister in busy for schedule due to election. And Akhil Bharatiya Parishad that had been blessed by word of the epidemiological by took bomb decided urgent collected. So civilized democracy and protected by the poor protect the wholesale by joking of these Indo peoples. Data integrity in this hasty Nancy. Dear students, third comes data integrity by the which is the shorthand of the candidality of this any government. At any time of the data of the anciency of has been a feature of this government, whether it was about the economic data on making by the GDP or not be group of the recording by the implement of this scientists so changing blasting the withholding period pandemic by the labor force survey or the non-transportation survey data. Shape the path form they contributed by data detail for our testing last year. Not be there COVID-19 death other than the more than human imperative by this wearing to the rich India we die to the basic countries of recording here existence and then departure not be clothing by the dear faculty faithful has deep by practice by implementation of you do not by trick to honesty and causally by do not undertake understand the this is not we do not by chest this cannot handle it the situation still required by the further accurate by pandemic in the of COVID-19 India mortality data of the mainly time lower than the what is the officially by knowledge as discussed by the detail of the last assessment in the institute by the health merit and evolution. Experts such as the Dr. Brahm Mukherjee, Dr. Akash Kejha and Dr. Murad Banerjee and the discrepancy it is for by the regular marked by this error. Since the many countries that deeply by this meaning of the India national by standing to the reliability by the recorded of the information, not me recording to the all diligently by sharing data or causing by question of the India and world. This paragraph said, dear my students, Some doctors and experts like name Dr. Brahm Mukherjee, Dr. Ashish K. Jain and Dr. Murad Banerjee. Independent of the expert by the COVID-19 dated by pandemic to and mortality and data of the many times lower. Doctor said that, but health minister merited the evaluation and the Indian national by standing the really able by the recorded to the standing by information. Information the not recording to the general by sharing the data and Indian to be world. So our economic and the poor. They stop. Next paragraph, dear my students, our economics and the poor. In the topic, the fourth and the final principle that this pandemic has driven home to improve important by the centering by good of economics ground, improving the life of the those. Whereas of recently, India has been accessed by the about run by this and earning by the 5 trillion by the economy. But there is not security council seat by the granted by entry into the big rich cliff of the world of the India overwhelming by majority. Those who have under S 1.9 a day can't be left to not be morose by numbers in the survey of the reported in those constantly hammered to be side to Indo poverty to this lecture report by this Ajim prelims by university took by the 230 million of Indian sleeping by blow in this bleeding by the drowning this pandemic and this related to this pandemic observation by this then which guru edged by this misleading by the analysis by declared by the portrayal by talking about the fabric can't be replaced by meant to sound welfare to which is the must periodic by the majority of the Indian demand to the need to social security net. It is the strong by the degree to the for global experience and whether it the job wide and big spending. What was the Boris Johnson in the Britain Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson said that ending by the age of the Austria, Germany launching by the budget of the state speed the China historical by drive to the end absolute by the poverty and India on. Then the International Minority Fund knowledge by the fastest decline by the poverty globalization offering by the data between the 205 and the 215 by the COVID understanding by the good economic by the way to help to majority and the poor not be variable by the smart principle of this rather than the matter enhancement. This paragraph said that dear my students, Boris Johnson, the Britain Prime Minister and China Prime Minister and Australian said that Indian crisis this oxygen related to the other country things experience rather than Biden president in the recently America and between the 2005 to 2015 to 16 understanding by the good economics and minority by this help of this must be poor and related to this Indian matter and enhancement. Next, dear students, you know that virus is the no socialist by this, but the respondent by the house society and human being by the behaviors, allowing by the great days by cow and double by this cause by giving for free rent to by value and this delivery deliveries safety by the amongst by the large on this protective and equilibration election by the such as the West Bengal activity by the cutting and this boasting the about this mass gathering in the just by the ago the for investigation on this disaster providing the virus within the what is the vented a chance of the multiple by the diverse jump hosted and is region by rapidly addressed by acceleration by the cost by second wave. This paragraph added core in this. Recently, the five state the election and increased the COVID-19 related to this crowd. West Bengal activity the depend by this for just the invitation of the disaster produced by this virus. And then this is the country by the way it is not we did not we multiply situation and this all our country and polo which is the far favor the regions and principal help by this world and waste COVID-19 caused by the under the basic of the distraction over this pure public politic culture and culture related to this speed pill for this last 7 years less. So it would be hard of the stop analysis to timing this man made. India or were still Modi variant. This news is a very important the civil service examination and the mains paper 2 and essay paper related to the cover. And then after you can 2 times read and then after you understand the core then after you can write the notebook in the note. So next dear student I am going to the international news only direct. Other news is not important this related to the civil service examination. So news yes that news is related to the international and important. Dear students, what's Iron domain system? It can inject by the multiple target simultaneously. It is the recently this news is important. as conflicted by the intercepted by Israel pound gauge. Yes, this news is important. Raw material. Raw material shortage demand driving by this crisis of the supply in the China. India Indian in woe by hard rise, corning by the hour sharing the piece of the critically medical provisions. And next important news, the Oli reappointed by Nepal PM. He will have to taken by vote of the confidence within 30 days. Dear students, previous some years India and Nepal relation is good, but recently the take charge the Prime Minister Oli and Indian relation and Nepal relation is the between this dangerous due to Oli KP Sharma Oli heading by the minority of the government was the showdown the Nepal Prime Minister on Friday. But 4 days by the after invested by the leader of the last the cruel vote by the confidence in the parliament. So dear student, this is 969 years old chairman of the Communist by Party of the Nepal united by Marx Leninist was reappointed by the Prime Minister by House of the Representative. Mr. Oli will be headed by minority of the government was does not enjoy the a minority in parliament after losing the vote of the confidence on the Monday. So reluctantly reappointment by the post of the Tuesday night at the opposition party followed the secure majority and defeat by the parliament. Oli by not be Oli of Mr. Oli will now have to take in the vote with confident at the House of within the 30 days. And this attempt by the from the government under the Article 776.5 of the Constitution world by intended by this President. That's why the minister by the Mr. Oli cabinet were also shown in the during the ceremony. All the member of the old cabinet have been clouded by the new cabinet. And then Pradeep Gyawali has been reappointed by the foreign minister Vilda Ram Bahadur Thapa and Bisunu Paudry were appointed by the minister